frameworks is trying to just kind of sick of fixing computers and we'll start developing.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. If you've done very much Java at all, oh, this is familiar with sanctions.
All right, guys, I'm live streaming.
We're
Just
live
in case,
streaming?
just in case you verbally speak out your computer password and bank account information.
All right. We'll save that for later. Help yourself to the food, guys. Yeah. Some cups out.
We are live.
Maybe so, excuse me, there are sodas also?
People eating. The sounds of people smacking their lips.
I'm sure we're not the only live stream on YouTube of people eating right now. Perhaps the only ones with Kotlin in the background.
Change my mind. I can do my laptop.
I can reopen all my tabs later. Xamarin Components is still down. Xamarin Components is still down.
Hey, Brandon. Hey.
Welcome, Brandon.
Hello. Hey, Brandon.
Hello. Hey, there's someone. There's someone in our live stream. Is it you guys?
It's not me.
Welcome.
Did you put it on Meetup at all or anything?
I did. I should change this description.
So this is 100% compatible with Java, correct? That's what it says.
100% interoperable. Excuse me.
Interoperable. So is Larry Ellison happy with this program? Or do you see it as a competitor?
Well, I don't think Oracle is happy about anything, even what they do make money off of. So, frankly, I don't think that they can hurt Kotlin. It's kind of fun, or like it says there, middle right, now official on Android. So when we set up this meetup, that hadn't been announced yet, and actually we've got a guy who may be coming tonight that is using Kotlin for an Android app, in his day job, and so I think he's going to do the next one. So the plan tonight is I'm just kind of going to do some very high level stuff, and then our next meetup should actually be a Kotlin for Android kind of talk. But frankly, that use case in particular, Kotlin for Android, there's not much Oracle can do there because they've already tried to hit Android for using the Java APIs, and that's, they didn't really win. Or interpret that how you will. But whatever damage will be done has already been done there. And this is just something else that happens to run there. And so fundamentally, that's the Android story. The JVM story, which does more directly interact with the Oracle's bits. Fundamentally, Kotlin compiles to the same bytecodes that Java does. Kotlin is not the only JVM compatible language out there. It is, arguably the best one, but it's far from the first. It won't be the last, and Oracle would really, really, really have to do something severe to prevent other run on JVM languages. They would, basically anything that compiles to JVM bytecode is going to run on the JVM. And so there's not much Oracle can do to stop that without, really throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
When he first took over Sun and inherited Java, pretty much ignored it for years. And got forced by lawsuit to, as you know, to do maintenance.
This guy.
Which guy?
Oh, that's right. Shane was sitting there.
Yes.
Oh,
you
well,
get up to get your
I
laptop
didn't
and
see
you
a
lose.
name. He was gone for like 10 minutes.
That's where he didn't leave. I'll leave, someone's gonna come.
And being that they didn't say anything, I'm almost thinking that they didn't want you here anyways.
It's just more entertainment. So.
I feel better.
Where do you get to the cones?
I can give you the link,
There's
but
the-
if you actually just go to like try.kotlinlang.org.
Or is it under problems? Maybe?
Yeah, if
Oh, here they are.
Oh, if you-
Kotlin cones.
yeah, exactly.
Look at that. What do you know?
Yep. So once we get started, I'd like to give people at least another 10 minutes to trickle in. But yeah, once we get started, I kind of want to, just talk through a little bit, but then mostly let's work through those. Let's actually try to write this stuff.
Did you get the message from Bundy about
Oh, Bunny, Nathan Bunny.
Bundy? Bundy?
I was gonna say like Al.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
I
Bundy.
should put that up now.
Yeah.
There's going to be a hackathon just a couple weeks from now. Wednesday, tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's on the day of my daughter's rural dance recital. So I won't be there. But this, so June 24th, kind of just up from the fairgrounds. There's still time to sign up for this thing. I participated in 2 hackathons with these guys. It's a fun day. It's a full day, but it's a fun day.
Isn't this one shorter though? Right?
Yeah, it's a mini hack. It's a 12-hour thing, so you can see that it's
It's not to stay up all night on Monster.
no.
That was rough.
But yeah, I'd encourage you guys to think about participating. It's a fun thing.
I don't see the website for that one.
Oh, that's a good point. I think it's just valleyhackathon.com. But I will go ahead and post it.
Yeah, it's valleyhack.com/events/seminar mini 2017.
Over to be determined for prices.
Yes.
Could be a keyboard.
TBD.
There was one there, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was the one me and Cameron went to, and Scott also was on a different team. And the winner won a keyboard.
It was a nice,
It was a nice
mechanical
keyboard,
keyboard.
So you had to like cut it in two or thumb wrestle over it, or
I think they had more than one.
Oh, it was a single person.
I think they
Came
did
up
have
with
more than one in case it was
Came up with survey software,
yeah.
which
Well, let's.
Tell us how you really feel.
Mine and Shane's rule. Oh, Scott's was really good.
I think I'm gonna make like a tool where you can type anything in, and it'll go and like it'll kind of like index what's available like on the internet, and when you type things in, it'll like, try and figure out what you want and give you like options from that list.
Are you looking for backers?
I think I found.
Better yet, I could probably not write anything and just have a really nice presentation, and I'd probably still win. That's how it feels every year I've gone.
Put it to the test.
So you say nobody tries the code?
No, everyone does.
The problem is you're not a high schooler. If you were a high school kid and gave a great presentation, then you'd be set.
the grading metrics haven't exactly been perfected yet. We'll just say that.
We have no idea who the judges will be this time.
So who's the big sponsors? 56 sponsors, that's quite a bundle.
There were a lot of them on there.
So I was trying to figure that out. Like, does that just mean that 56 companies have at some point sponsored a Valley Hackathon?
I do feel like that anybody that's thrown in some money maybe on this list.
That's kind of what it seems
It's like, if you give us money, we will have you on our site forever.
you will be a sponsor for every event.
Name recognition, there you go. I've seen those guys before.
That second one, I've heard of them.
Yeah, me too.
Pay more money to get your name on it.
Starbucks?
Technically, we should go late to the game.
Well, it's up further. Like you scroll past it, right?
Well, no, I mean like these groups, the Google Developers Group.
Oh, okay.
And Valley Software Developers. Those are our counterparts, basically. Different meetups.
So you have a Google developers Tuolumne?
That would be kind of cool. Well, I mean, just in the technical meetup sense, I'm not opposed to having one. I don't know. Google Developers. Oakdale's not that far away.
No, it's not. That is another camp.
Yeah.
Any association with the Innovation Lab, they throw any money this way?
Not good.
It's a lot.
I haven't heard anything from them for quite a while.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I sent them a message on Facebook like a month ago. See if they're still doing 3D printing.
No reply.
No, nothing.
They have 3D printers. Use one of them.
Go
They
to the Mother Lode Maker
installed-
Lab.
they
Yeah, I was gonna say the
installed-
Maker Lab has all that
I met
stuff.
those guys at the Science Expo at the Opera Hall for a day. Is that a cool place to go?
Yeah, I go there.
It has facilities that you probably wouldn't have in your bedroom.
You got a 3D printer, laser cutter,
bunch of laptops that are doing their stuff.
Yeah, it's a nice facility.
But he's going like day-to-day use.
I think you can do day use. They didn't have the hardware that I needed for my project. It wasn't.
They have an open make night on Thursday nights, I think. The Motherhood Maker Lab. They have a meetup too, I think.
Yeah. They also have a satellite in Grove. So that's closer.
Is there Slack here? They're actually
I think it's Sonora Dash Dev.
I can tell you. Maybe I can tell you. Sonora-dev.slack.com.
I meant to sign into that last time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait until you choose some more than asking another question.
Can I get you some more?
Nora, plus.
Minus.
Dev.
Sonora minus Dev.
Dot.
Cabo may have found it. Could be him.
I remember what my password is.
Just say it out loud. I'm a reliable person.
So is everybody on YouTube.
Are we live streaming on YouTube?
We are. It's just on my personal live stream right now, which
What's
is
your
super
account?
very official. Brandon Risell.
It's he posted the link on the meetup page also.
I don't know if you can get to it from my YouTube account.
So if you go to the meetup
'Cause I tried
page for
doing that.
tonight, it's the top comment.
What? Top comment? Oh, Matt took top comment.
Oh man,
I'm gonna get more likes than you, bro.
can we like comments on here? Say wait for it to reload. His comment. Oh, you mean on the YouTube? Other comments on the YouTube.
There's comments.
Watching your shows in chat. Whoa, it's so delayed.
Stream delay is typically 15 to 20 seconds.
Quarter after Tabo, who may be live streaming this, says he still has a pretty nasty bug, but so I just sent him the link and he said thanks. So. Hi Tabo, if you're out there. I don't know if there's anybody else we're expecting tonight.
There are 2 people watching, but one
Is
of
one of
them
them
is me and one might be Brandon. So.
Actually, it's probably my wife.
Uh,
Oh, no.
hey, we're up to 3 guys. Yes. Technology.
Yeah, Nick said yes, but I didn't actually talk to him today to see if he would be coming.
I brought my biggest. No, it's not true. This is the only laptop I've ever used on a plane that like, it actually didn't feel crazy to do so. At all. So, and
Hey, Cameron.
Yo.
Whenever you start, I'll probably turn off the overhead lights to see if it helps with seeing the screen.
Yeah, the one that's right there in front does glare off of it.
I don't know if it will help, but I'll try it.
let's give it a shot. We okay in the dark?
Hmm.
Oh, the screen is still completely washed out.
Right.
Yeah, the camera would have to basically be pointing right at it, so that the
See.
white balance would work out.
Let's see, what would that be?
Oh, it does want to adjust the camera.
Question for you guys. If you wanted to mess around with your webcam's settings on a Mac, where would you go?
Are you talking about for that camera or for the built-in one?
For that camera.
Are you streaming it?
Unless you have the driver installed, my guess is you
Maybe
can't.
that's what it is.
Because if I do a search for webcam, nothing comes up.
Try covering the lens and then uncovering it.
No, because it's putting everyone else into focus instead of the screen.
So if it's not going to pick the screen anyway, well,
Let's try this.
where do we want to move all the way up? Where the camera that is?
Okay. I make everything bright.
That should actually make it better. Although it would probably be out of focus to actually see anything.
I can move it up if you want.
For our entire audience, would you rather see the screen or us chewing?
I don't know. Ask him.
Exactly.
Do it, just put the legs up and sit around the table.
So, don't go out of my chair. Got it.
Trying out this.
Oh, wait. Find a way to show the type?
Yeah.
Oh.
Making everyone seasick right now.
Tava just said screen is fine, don't worry too much.
Alright.
Let's see how. And of course, it just turned off on one side.
Hey Matt, you wanna put that down over there somewhere.
Cool.
I won't be able to read text.
Right. Do you want to leapfrog down a couple seats and
Sure.
we'll do the same thing 5 or 6 feet closer and then just call it good? Or do you want me to-
The only downside of having it on the table is anytime somebody touches it, the whole thing vibrates.
On the other hand, this is exactly what it would look like if you were standing on the table.
And you were 4 feet tall.
Yes. Okay. Kneeling on the table?
What do you think, Cameron?
Yeah.
I don't know, you can actually see it there, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Give it a shot.
Our super high tech meetup group.
It's okay. Cabo, our one viewer, already probably
sitting
one
here?
who knows Cabo best now. I haven't used it much since last year, but I really enjoyed it when I did get to use it.
That camera does not have much in the way of vibration. Oh, you can definitely see text on it.
Oh.
Sorry.
Still going.
Are we good? As good as we're going to get on the screen? Or did something
Yeah, I
go
think so.
down?
See if that'll minimize wobble. Yep. As good as we're gonna get.
All right. So, welcome to the Sonora Developer Meetup. Thank you, Front Porch, for hosting us. Cabo just said looks good. All right. And like we mentioned, again, just for the record, there is a hackathon in our, more or less in our backyard here in Sonora on Saturday, June 24th. It's a half-day thing, basically 8 to 8 kind of thing. So it's a good time. I will be there if that were not my daughter's dance recital day, which is going to be a lot of those 12 hours. Dance recitals are long. But Dale should go. So, valleyhackathon.com. So tonight we're going to get a taste of Kotlin and going to try to, as quickly as possible, get over into this Try Online tab and specifically work through some of their codes, which are nice introductory exercises that are runnable right in the browser. It's good stuff. So Kotlin, it's at kotlinlang.org. Let me split this. So it's probably not big enough, except for you guys. But yeah, Kotlin is a nice, modern, more or less C-looking language with lots of nice quality of life features. It's from JetBrains, which is the company that makes. So there you can see JetBrains down here. And so JetBrains are the ones that do IntelliJ and ReSharper and many, many, many other like tools. They're very, very much a tools and IDE company, and so their language is in-house. I think they mostly use Java, and basically they wanted something better, but they wanted the IDE experience to still be excellent, and so basically that's what they did. They also wanted a extremely smooth transition from Java to the point where within the same project you can mix and match Kotlin files and Java files and have them call back and forth to each other freely and compile it all out to the same artifact as jar. And so they've slowly transitioned. I don't know how much of what they have internally is Kotlin as opposed to Java anymore, but that's how they started, and now it's out there. It is a nice open source language that they're or it's open, free to use, that kind of thing. They are obviously the ones shepherding it. And so, where can you actually run Kotlin? So, it targets the JVM. So we discussed that a little bit before we started. So, basically, server-side stuff or console apps, or frankly, Java GUI stuff. Some people still do that. It'll work there just fine. It'll work there really, really, really well, actually. Android is newly first class officially supported. So Android, or using Kotlin on Android has worked fine for more than a year. Well, even more than that. Kotlin itself only hit 1.0 around a year ago. So people were using it on Android before that. So, but yeah, the Android experience is excellent and now is officially supported as of Google I/O a week or two ago. And so you can also compile Kotlin out to JavaScript. So this is only very, very newly stable, but it's an exciting feature, especially if you're using it in one of these other places anyway. So if you've got a JVM backend or an Android app, being able to use the same language to compile it out for web stuff is pretty compelling if you're using Kotlin anyway. Now, if you're only doing web or Node.js kinds of stuff, frankly, it's probably not the best compile the JavaScript if that's the only thing you're interested in. But if you've already bought into Kotlin at all, one less language for everybody to get their head around is pretty compelling. And they are early days, very early days, compiling to native. So that's exciting stuff there as well. So that if you are doing, more of a server-side app, compiling all the way out to native, so that you could potentially deploy that to a very, very small container. That's an exciting thing as well. So where the JVM is a very, very impressive thing as far as how much performance it can, crank out, but compiling all the way to native, depending on your workload, you might beat it. You probably use a heck of a lot less memory. So let's see, we're going through the general stuff. Yeah, and I already mentioned this, that unlike some of the other Java alternatives, let's call it, so the big one there is Scala. Kotlin, because it's from a tooling company, the tooling has been excellent from the get-go. So especially people coming from like a Java or C# kind of background, it's extreme. The tooling or IDE experience is first class. It's really, really good. And the community edition of IntelliJ from JetBrains has Kotlin support baked in. So it's, I guess C# is free for, for almost all intents and services along with Visual Studio for small enough stuff these days as well. But so gone are the days where your IDE or language would cost quite a bit. So the tooling story there is really, really good. It works nicely. So I'd like to talk through a little bit on the language itself, and then let's start actually writing some Kotlin. So if we follow these, okay, so in my opinion, the nicest thing that Kotlin has to offer, or the biggest advantage that it has over Java and similar, is it takes a really, really strong stance on null. So basically, we've mentioned, or I probably glossed over it, but Kotlin is a statically typed language. So very much like most of the other Java and C# that I just mentioned anyway. But unlike those two, null is arguably a part of their type system to the point where you actually have to explicitly deal with the possibility of things being null. They have, so not completely unlike C#, they have, you can say that a type is nullable or not. So but it applies to everything. So unlike that's where it's different than C#. So let me take a step back, and I know that a lot of the guys here have a lot of C# in their background. Any other languages or that I should be trying to explain this for, as far as like?
I spend more time in C# than anything else.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned Java, so not terribly.
Yeah, no, not too foreign at all.
Cool.
My coding experience is antique, so
Okay.
I'm not even going to mention codes,
All right.
but I get the syntaxes. Yeah, I need to update, so that's fine.
Cool.
That's why I'm here, is to update, actually.
Awesome. Yeah, this is a nice modern language to jump into.
Versus my first programming language, which we did in cards. So
Mm-hmm.
I moved to terminals when they were invented.
Yep. It's a different experience. for
Yes.
sure. Cool.
Same logic, though.
Cool. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's all eventually running through those gates. So yeah, for everybody coming from C# or Java kind of backgrounds, there's always the possibility of null reference exception. But Kotlin makes you actually deal with that. When you are going back, when you're hopping between Java and Kotlin, it might not be as strict, but when you're purely within Kotlin, you are explicitly dealing with, it's going to make you deal with nulls. Like basically, it's not even going to let you call a method on something unless you made sure that it's not null, which is really, really nice. It might sound really heavy-handed, but they've got enough features in there and idioms for dealing with that it's not overbearing. So they've got nice ways for you to, hey, if your parameters aren't nullable in the first place, you don't need to worry about it. But if they are, they have very convenient ways for you to either provide a default value or error out or whatever you want to do to actually deal with it. I wonder if they have any nice terms. Now we'll get to it in the codes. Another of my favorite features is the data class. So it's very, very common in C# or Java that you've got a class that fundamentally only exists to wrap a couple of values. And so what do? You actually create a class or maybe a struct in C#. But then if you actually want to throw that thing into a dictionary or hash map, then you have to go ahead and override .equals and get hash code. And So that's a fair bit of boilerplate. It's also the amount of syntax that you have to actually dedicate for that kind of thing is often pretty verbose, that you wind up, or especially in Java, if you're doing the full like, Java Bean style thing, if you're doing like get, set, everything all the way down, the IDEs help a lot there. But Kotlin has what are called data classes, which in the simplest case literally just look like this. So data class, and then here's the name of the class, and then here are your properties. So val, we'll get to what val versus var, but this automatically provides the equals method and the hash code method, and it also gives you a nice toString. And then this component end thing is for destructuring kind of. They don't really have tuples, but something a little bit like that, where you can, grab a couple values off of something. So this is one of my favorite features by far, because there's so little ceremony. So objects are still useful as far as like providing methods, and you can write methods on these things, but the amount of ceremony for the amount of ceremony just kind of gets thrown out the window here. It's like that's all I actually care about. I literally just want a name and I want an age. Like that's it. And so now now I can use that everywhere. I can, if I want to serialize that out to JSON and that kind of stuff. If I want to be able to compare, hey, is this actually equal to this other value, and have that give me a meaningful answer. Where it actually compares name to name and age to age, as opposed to out of the box. That's like never going to be true unless they're literally referring to the same object. Both C# and Java. So data classes. So Shane's least favorite feature is that you declare functions with fun. So that's your keyword. So, no big deal there. So functions. So there is a simple function. So literally just fun. Name of the function, and then you get into, so Kotlin does do the name before type. So coming from C# or Java, that's pretty unfamiliar. If you've messed around with TypeScript or OCaml or F#, there's a lot of other languages actually. There's kind of the newer like functional influence languages are kind of leaning this way of putting name before the type. So Kotlin does that as well. Kotlin also has a nice little symmetry that this is the return type. So you can kind of think of this as that all of that is describing the function, and then from here we're describing the return value. So or return type. So Shane doesn't like to go so short. I like to go so short. And you do use the same word, the same keyword that inside classes have. So, another really nice thing is, well, we saw val, and actually there's val on our screen right there. So let's actually write a little code. This is too much talking. So one of my other favorite things. I'm gonna just examples. So let's go full screen. So this is just their plain old try.kotlin.org. So if we run that, we get this hello world thing. So let's make there be a variable. So let's say there is a val. nothing very exciting. But let's run that thing. Or let's change the message so that I can make heat up. So if we run that, Control R. Control R. So you can see it ran. It said hello meetup. So also note that there's no semicolons here. So that's another. Semicolons are technically allowed, but discouraged, I guess you'd say. Like if you try to add them in IntelliJ, it'll say, like, hey, we don't like those. You will get a warning. But what val means is that it's assign once. So you would call it, or it's close to the equivalent of read-only in C#. In Java, it's the same as final. So if I try that now, you can see that val cannot be reassigned. So it's not very exciting in this particular example, but if I go ahead and change val to var, val the var, well, let's say that is now not an error. So Kotlin makes it dead easy to declare your variables, and the same thing actually applies to fields and properties. They make it dead easy for you to say, hey, I'm only going to assign this thing once, so therefore it's literally just VAL instead of VAR. So like in Java, for example, where you wind up, well, there'd be a lot more ceremony in this, but you wind up having to, you're paying a little bit of a syntactic penalty as far as you have to write more to say that, hey, I only want to do this once. And so just having it be dead easy to say, hey, I'm only assigning this once. In this toy example, it's kind of a so what feature, but with the more code you're looking at, the less things you have to keep in your head, the better. And so just by defaulting to val instead of var, there's less things you have to worry about because you know that no other value has ever been assigned to a particular thing. So it's the same reason that there's a lot of people that'll appropriately say that it's a best practice to make your objects immutable because it's just easier to reason about them. You never need to think about that kind of thing again. And so val is a building block for making things immutable. So no
constant let in
Yeah.
JavaScript.
Yeah, it's very, very much, it is the same as const in JavaScript. So it's not the same as const in C#, and I think it's the same in Java there, whereas const literally means that it's a compile time constant. But yeah, as far as JavaScript is concerned, it does mean the same thing. And again, so val is kind of the building block for immutability. So if you have something that's vals all the way through, like data class of just vals for parameters, then nothing's ever going to change about that, which is nice. So let's hop back. So yeah, val string templates are built in, which is really nice. Maybe I should just show you. So, okay, so stuff is built in. So if I were, let's introduce another one. So let's say, so inside I could say hello to myself, which is so you can see that succeeded. So you can put just dollar in front of a variable name, and that works. And the syntax highlighting for that is a little bit better in IntelliJ than it is here, by the way. But you can also put in curly braces, and then inside of the curly braces, you can put anything. So like
Any expression.
yeah. So if I wanted to build that up to this, that's a silly way to do it, but it works. Or let's put something more expression-y. Yay! So you can see I'm calling a method inside of there, and the hash code would probably be different. No, it's not. Interesting. Oh, never mind. Okay. So yeah, that, and you also have like multi-line strings if you do the triple quote thing, so which is handy. So note that the string interpolation stuff is still working inside of the multi-line strings.
So what do you do if you want a $sign in your string?
If you actually, well, if let's do something where where there's no variables with that name. So dollar name. So you can see unresolved records. So backslash. Oops.
You have the extra quote there?
Where am I? Maybe I'm lying. Look at this backslash.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail.
No,
you.
it's fine.
We can continue.
My lack of having used it for like 6 months is showing. So I really do like it. So my age off is like all C#.
You could wrap the $sign as a character inside of the brackets.
Good.
Brackets and then string
What's the $sign bracket, character, literal $sign, close bracket?
String literal, string.
Maybe it doesn't work in a triple and a
If you put
multi-line
it in
string.
quotes with backslash in front of it to escape it, it works.
Say it again.
So if you put the whole string in quotes and then a backslash to escape the $sign, it'll be okay.
Huh.
So just put a backslash in front of the $sign, and then you can put quotes around the outside of it. Or have the quotes around the whole thing. I mean, the whole string.
Instead of that.
Sorry,
No,
it derailed us.
Yeah, I don't think
That is,
Yeah.
No,
it's working in mine, but I have mine laid out a little bit differently. I have to follow.
so. Yeah, maybe you can't escape it in the multi-line ones?
Oh, it's the multi-line that's doing it.
Yeah, so I hadn't done that. Okay, so my initial just use a backslash was correct, but not in the multi-line triple slash thing. Or triple
Interesting.
thing.
Yeah.
I was close. Yeah, so
Guess
but,
that's where Santa comes in.
yeah, having the string templates built in is handy. So not having to put some extra sigil in front of your strings is like in someone C#. So lambdas are cool. So let's look at some versions. Toy examples. So lambdas. That might be better. So let's do that kind of example. So lambdas in Kotlin. So let's print it out first. Okay. So we thought map this thing. I'm going to put some extra. So the curly's here. So let's do this very explicitly. Let's call it text or something. So here is an excessively verbose lambda. You'll see what I mean. Oh, they go inside. Sorry. Tablet's probably yelling at his screen. Okay. So, promise I used to be better. So yeah, this is an excessively verbose lambda. So lambdas in Kotlin always use curly braces, and so lambdas are not necessarily, that much more special than just having yet another function. Because frankly, I could have yet another function right here. It's where x type int. And I could then reference that down here, and that would work. So these things are not actually that different. I see sharp as showing. Maybe actually, I thought they had an online version of that. Yeah, they do have an online way. So
Just do equals x times
I
x.
think it's equals, yeah.
oh, thank you.
But I don't actually. Do you still need the return type declared?
Not on that actually. That feels good. Well, let's ignore that for the moment. Or you can see that one's actually, it's now compiling. See that. So inline functions. So didn't actually tell you that you can do that or you can't do that. So frankly, like that feels a lot like JavaScript as far as that's where you more commonly see that. But C# lets you do that now too. But yeah, let's get back to the lambdas. So fundamentally, they're not that different, except they can for. Sorry, I'm doing it the not magical way first. So this is a fully verbose, super duper verbose lambda. Looks like that. And so you can see that worked. 149. 1, 2, 3. Square it out. It's 149. So that works. So one thing that you can do in Kotlin is it's easier to show you. So note that I took out the parens around it. So that works just fine. So it's still happy. So basically when you have a lambda in last position, you can leave off the parens around it. So in this particular case, it doesn't make that big of a difference. But with multi-line lambdas, it winds up making it look like you've got your own control structures and stuff like that. So frankly, like imagine that instead of map, that this was actually called a for or something like that. If I had some function that just took a lambda, I could then call it. Let's do some other example. So if I types right. Sorry. Okay, thank you. So we put our name first. So just and then here we can let's keep working with things, I guess. And we technically don't need to actually do anything. So let's make sure it's in the file. So I could now call this one like that. So as long as I actually, let's change the type on this thing so that it doesn't actually take an integer anymore. So it takes no parameters and returns an int. So we can now do that. So this winds up, like used appropriately, can make for some very readable stuff. I'm technically invoking this function, and so in fact, let's go ahead and let's invoke it. So let's bring that there. So you can see that running that example is now running my function here. So used sparingly, this can be make for very, very readable stuff. Okay, so I promised that I would make this lambda less verbose. So if you only have one parameter, you can just call it it. You get that parameter for free. So it winds up making succinct lambdas really, really succinct. So if you've only got one parameter, it is just called it, and you don't need to declare it. So it makes this stuff really, really nice. Cool. So lambdas, operator overloading. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but so like C#, but unlike Java, the normal operators can be overloaded. So like, for example, you can make your own numeric types, like actually implement things like plus. So you can then write them normally. So unlike Scala and some other languages like that, you can't use like arbitrary symbols and that kind of thing. But as far as being able to make your own, so the things that you can do with primitives, you can do with your own types. So use it sparingly, but it's there. So one of the confusing things is that they do not have the new keyword. So when you're creating a new instance of something, you don't actually say new. So let's say that I wanted data class food.
That took a while to get used to.
Yeah, so if you've ever done any Python, this will feel familiar. Otherwise, you'll find yourself writing new. After I've been doing Kotlin for a couple months, like I would only do it maybe once a week, but it was probably hourly at first. It's like, new, oh man. So let's ignore that thing now. So let's print out. I mentioned the data class thing before, so let's do 1, 2. So you can see that the this is the default toString implementation for us. So note that we got the name of the class, and it says that X is that, and Y is that. So this is me creating an instance of a class. So if I were to leave up something else, so you can see that's a plain old compiler error. So there is no new. You just call the constructor. You just call the class itself. So you get used to it. I don't feel strongly about that one. Companion objects, I do kind of feel strongly about. I think these are kind of awesome. So basically, you don't, barring you jumping through hoops because Java interop is forcing you to do it, you don't actually have statics. So instead, you have what they call the companion object, and that is useful. Like you use it in all the same ways that you would use a static, but unlike in Java or C#, that companion object, or the kind of the implied object that you'd kind of get, like if you think about it in C# or Java terms, like everything that you declare that's static, it's like all of that kind of belongs to the class, but it's not really an object, so you can't pass that around. So even though it has methods, it may have properties, it has data, in almost every way it's an object, except it's not an object. It can't implement interfaces. And so Kotlin, like Scala, does what they call companion objects instead. So it's handy. Let's go ahead and keep it. And then let's then we can also just literally say companion. Sorry, this is the worst example ever. So I'm doing single line functions just because I can't keep it simple. So we can now foo.powser. So far, that this is, let's see,
Companion object.
Thank you. There we go. So, you can, copy.unit, I shouldn't be printing. So, let's just go ahead and call it. So, this looks just like calling a static method. There's nothing very, there's nothing very special about that. But what is special is the fact that this is now like a real object, and you can pass it around that way, and this thing can actually implement interfaces. So, let's declare an interface just because we can.
So to clarify, there can be more than one companion object, and not like if you have a variable in there, it's not only going to store one value for the life of all the objects, like it does in C#.
Well, no, like if I put something in here, there is going to be just one of these.
For every instance of foo?
Not for every instance, because there's like the only thing that this companion object and however many foo objects get created have in common is basically the name. It's like you store them together because hopefully it's helpful, but they're not actually there's not other than the name. In my opinion, there's not really a very special relationship between any instances of foo. So let's actually create an instance. So now we actually have a foo here, and so we can have to chain. Let's get here. Sorry, I didn't finish the other. So we can f.chain. So you can see that this Pauser method does not exist on the F object, but it exists on the companion object. So again, so far it's not actually, or in my opinion, I haven't shown you anything that's actually any better than statics yet. I think where it gets useful is, again, having them implement interfaces. So if we were to say that, well, since I already did this, so there has to be a fun Pauser.
It's the only kind of answer.
Oh, I didn't name it, sorry. Let's see, so, let's do another one. As long as we're picking it. So, okay, now it's going to yell at me because this object doesn't implement Robert. So now I can go ahead and do that. Let's see, companion. That's something weird. What did
Is it because you put? No.
Let's make something else. This one.
You're overriding your funner backwards.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
See? So yeah, apologies for the rust, like I said. But now this is where it gets useful again, because this is unlike in Java and C#. Like statics are useful as far as not everything should be attached to every single instance. Sometimes it makes sense to associate data or functionality kind of just with the name of the class itself. There's nothing wrong with that pattern itself, but taking it a step farther and letting these things be plain old objects and implement interfaces and stuff, then makes it so that we can then have a function naming things is hard. It's hard. That takes something of this shape, and let's then just eye that Robert. So we have this function called naming is hard that we can now go ahead and pass to that. So now we can, now we can pass that foo itself.
Well, foo. Foo.Pauser or foo?
Just to be clear, that all that I'm doing now, I'm calling this naming is hard function with the companion object itself.
Interesting.
So that's where it gets useful to me. Like I've used this for making all the companion objects for some related things that can implement like some serialization interfaces and stuff like that. And so it's if statics have ever kind of rubbed you the wrong way, like companion objects are going to be like, this is awesome. Okay, we need to get writing some code soon. So extension functions are basically like extension methods. So let's do an example of that. Were you done with that?
Yeah.
No. Okay, cool. So let's try this out. So extension functions. So we can make it we can add a method to all the numbers. So obviously this is a beyond silly example.
Well, there are two Brandons in here, so
Exactly, you can't tell which one.
Brandon one.
So again, it's a silly example, but you can see that it actually worked. So I am calling the Brandon method on the number 42. And so, in my opinion, the way that you declare these extension functions in Kotlin is much nicer, or less surprising than in C# You got to do, like, you have to put them in a static class, and you wind up putting like this special this keyword in front of it. So whereas in
I was going to ask, how do you get access to the int that you're calling it on?
Excellent. So Brandon is
It. Nice.
or wait or the no, I think you get a this.
Okay.
Sorry, you're both 42.
Nice.
30-ish. Is that better? Yeah, so extension functions, another really cool thing in my opinion is that these can be like scoped. So for example, I could, it's, this example is getting sillier and sillier. But like if I wanted to, I could put these like inside of whatever I wanted. And then, so unlike in C# where you do have extension functions and they're really called extension methods, they're very useful. And fundamentally, you can do the same stuff with them. But they have to be in a static class, like a top level thing. So there's not a great way to have local extension functions, if you will, whereas you can totally do that inside of Kotlin. So if, for example, like if you wanted to do this kind of thing and have it apply only in the file that you're in, like, hey, only in this file because of whatever that I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and put an extension method on all dictionaries, for whatever I'm doing, but I don't want anybody else to, get thrown off by it. I'm going to do it just in this file and put private in front of it, and no one else will ever know, but I'm going to keep it readable, at whatever scope I want.
That's cool.
All right, let's do some counts. So, Kotlin counts. So, if you guys, everybody could go to, it's basically try.kotlinlang.org, and then it's kind of the second section down is the cones thing. So if you collapse the top level examples thing, those are good too, but less rewarding. There we go.
Cones
Shane
with a
got
K.
it. Cones with a K. Yes. Not cones. Yeah, maybe there's some other way. We should say that. Everybody there? All right.
I was thinking of traffic codes. I don't know why.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I agree that I've been pronouncing it that way, so now I'm wondering if there is some other way that I should have been pronouncing it this whole time. But I think that's good.
I'm curious. I've never heard that word. What is it? Come.
What does it mean?
Yeah, Google.
Paradoxical end. Dude, or riddle. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that word.
Koan.
Koan. Yeah.
Koan.
Go on. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that today,
Koan.
but I'll work on it.
Koan. Koan.
Wouldn't it be cone with a drawl though?
Cone.
Cone.
Koan,
Look at that diacritical. It's odd. I wonder
All
what
right.
language it is.
Sounds like a caveman versus cock.
So, you guys want to, or why don't I do the first one for an example, so you can see how to actually run them, and then we kind of switch into, let's try everybody try to do them on their own.
Go.
Okay. So, the instructions in here do explain what they're looking for. So in this case, we want this function to return the string. Well, sorry, let me undo that. And so if we just say check at first, we're going to get a failure. So you can see that this is actually running like real JUnit, and it's kind of nice. You have reasonable test runner output and stuff. And so this to-do thing, which is another nice built-in thing, just it throws an exception, So, in my opinion, like having a built-in to-do function is nicer than having throw new, not implemented exception, which we do all the time in C# anyway. So, you say check, see if it's green. So they really kind of already said what we need to do. So we need to return the string. Okay. I think there's green. Maybe it's up here.
You can show it down at the bottom if you hit check.
I did hit check.
I had to hit it like 3 times.
Yeah, I had to hit it a couple times as well before I
Okay.
actually saw anything.
All right. Hey, there it goes. All right.
Really check it.
Check, check, check. So, everybody able to run these all right? We're probably not DDoSing them. So, note that this is, this is running in some Java somewhere. This is not they're not compiling the JavaScript.
You can. You can switch to JavaScript on top of it, right?
Right now it's on JUnit. You can click down to JVM.
Well, JUnit, sorry. We could try JavaScript. I don't think we'll be able to do the cones though. Coan.
Think of Conan. I like that.
I think it has to be probably JUnit because they're actually
Right.
asserting these things.
Yeah.
Probably.
So it worked. So everybody's able to run these all right?
Okay.
So let's hop down to, well, the Java to Kotlin conversion is very cool, but I'm going to skip over that. I want to get into the Kotlin specific stuff. Okay, so named arguments. So you can see that they documented the thing there. So the question here is, what is the syntax? Well, maybe I should just talk this one out since this one's good. In C#, you would write this. Let me answer this in the wrong way first. That we're supposed to make it output the string, with brackets like that. So if we were to just call it directly with nothing in there, well, you can see that it's expecting yes, no, maybe, but it got that without the brackets around it. So what we need to do is we need to actually provide these optional prefix and postfix parameters. So the way that you don't do that, or you don't do it the C# way, which would be to do it like that. That won't compile. You gotta actually use the equal sign, which will tell you the truth. But this one's like having what appears to be a valid expression there still looks wrong to me.
Yeah.
So we got closer. You can see that my actual here does have the leading. That's not very big up there. Sorry. does have the leading, but doesn't have the trailing square bracket. Postfix. Run it. Run it. Run it.
Maybe it's going off of the actual click.
Okay, cool. So running it was enough to get it to fail, but not enough to get it to pass. Cool. So use the equal sign when providing named parameters. So note that these are optional. So just like in C#, if I actually wanted to do some other sort of separator, well, if I wanted to do exactly the same separator, I could. And that would look the same. But as far as they're concerned, I can also, if I do them in the right order, then I don't strictly have to name them. Then you gotta get your order right.
Is it the same in Kotlin for optional has to be in last position?
I believe so, yeah. So, like, for example, if I were, yeah, let's do that. So if we were to say separator equals and try to supply this one out. So mixing name and position is not a lot. So, which again is not strictly the case. You know, like, in my opinion, we are mixing them there, but it's really like once you go named, you gotta stay named. But again, the nice thing, although it's going to read weird, you can do this. You don't.
So out of order.
Right. You can go out of order. So the names then are enough. You know, they don't force you to put them in the same order. Once you've gone names, you know, once you've gone down the road using names, then the order doesn't matter. Cool. So default arguments are very similar, and so this one, I think you guys know everything you need to give this one a go on your own, especially Shane, who also writes Kotlin at his day job. So you guys want to give the default arguments one? So make the function foo do all the same things that all those overloads in Java can do.
Oh, it's easier. So these things.
Got it? Have a question? Fill in the blanks. Provide some default values. We're doing something else. Nathan is fast.
I have nothing. I'm not a job guy, so.
So basically, so you can see like that is their most standard one, or maybe it's better. You can see that when they call food with just one parameter, they're supplying the number 42, and they're calling that one. So that means the default value for number ought to be 42. So that's part of it. So you can literally put equals 42.
Instead of minutes.
Well, after.
Gosh dang it.
Doesn't let you click it right here.
So now it's going to yell at us because once we start supplying default values, now all we need to do is go ahead and provide the proper default value. In one there.
Should be
So it's gonna be whatever.
false.
Yeah. There.
That's what I was talking about. If you click on it, it doesn't actually like click inside of it. It selects the whole like block. Definitely takes a little bit to do the check.
Yeah. It's not quite as instant as we'd like. Provide it up here now. Do you want me to go through it up there?
Well, it depends if everybody else wants it there, everybody else gets it.
I think some people got it, some people didn't.
That's fine. I can't say I'll get it.
So we're going to do something very similar to this declaration that we saw in the last example, where it, following the appropriate parameters, we're going to stick equals some value in order to make this thing start passing. So unfortunately, we're going to have to read some Java to make that happen. And so fundamentally, we're going to have to provide the default values for number and for two uppercase. And so we just need to figure out those values from what we see up here. And so to figure out, oh, I can't highlight just part of it. Okay, so to figure out the answer for number, let's look up above to see when they're calling some of these overloads that don't take the number, like what number is it sticking in, or hard coding. You know, we're looking for the hard coded values up here, basically. So for number, we're doing 42. So I'm going to be a coward and use the arrow keys since I saw it happen to Brandon. So we're plugging that one in there, and the other hard-coded thing that we see is this hard-coded false. So we're going to use that for the two uppercase. And I believe that does it. So we're going to check that. Or check that. Hey, there we go. So that was that one. So how are we doing? Oh man, it's already 7:30. Okay. What do you got? Well, I'm happy to go a little bit more, but maybe we should prioritize what you guys would most like to see. You guys want to get into nullable stuff, or strings, data classes? Any preferences from the group here? Because I don't think we're going to have time to get very deep into this.
Something I can build at home.
Well, hopefully our next meetup, we've got a guy who does Kotlin in his day job, and so on Android, and so he agreed to give us or to take us through Kotlin for Android. So I don't know if that would be something that would.
Well, I'll be there. I just think between now and then, when's the next meeting?
Probably about a month out.
Okay.
So anything.
So background to fill in on that.
Yeah, if you want to do like hello, or now again, Kotlin is officially supported for Android. So I don't know if this is stepping on Tabo's presentation or not. Sorry, Tabo. But if you were to literally go to Google's own documentation now and click on Kotlin, you can do Hello World Java stuff, or sorry, Hello World Android stuff in Kotlin. So working through some of that would be, fabulous. Very much like classic. Put a button on there, make it say what you want. Click around, that kind of stuff.
The new preview build of Android Studio will let you do Kotlin straight from where you create the project. So like you'll go to create a new project and it'll say Kotlin support, and then instead of giving you Java on your blank app, it'll give it all in Kotlin. Makes it a little easier to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
I think that
Just a side question, I don't know if this is off topic or not. Google's kind of announced they're moving away from Android for some of their stuff. I assume it's going to be forward compatible since this is new? I mean, that would be logical.
I would suspect that their APIs are gonna that they would support a whole lot of the same stuff. API wise, language wise, I would suspect the story's even better there because like languages, have a tendency to outlive platforms anyway. So I would strongly suspect that that Kotlin and frankly, if you're doing Kotlin on JVM or Kotlin on Android, you're going to have some awareness or maybe a lot of awareness of how you would do similar things in Java. So should the need arise, you'd be able to. But frankly, probably don't need to that much anymore. You can just stay in Kotlin and have much nicer everything.
No, I was asking you to predict the future, but I'm just was getting an opinion on it.
I think that I'm not, just to be clear, but if I were starting my own company right now and I were forced to pick a language for my team to standardize on, I would seriously consider Kotlin. Is that a strong enough statement for you?
That's a pretty good statement.
I would seriously consider it. It might depend on, like what we were actually doing or whatever. But I wistfully have said the same thing as CTO at Front Porch.
Well, like you start with a new clean
right,
slate.
Right, exactly.
We've all got history.
Right. You've also, especially if you're invested in the JVM ecosystem, or something that the JVM ecosystem offers is compelling to you. That's yet another reason to use something that's first class in that ecosystem. So Java's libraries, depending on the exact problem domain, are arguably they are unbeatable in some areas, and there's no pain whatsoever in using Java libraries from Kotlin. There's going the other direction. There's depending on like if you're doing companion objects and stuff like that, like from the Java side, the way that actually those companion objects, you can use them from the Java side, but you wind up actually saying like .companion or something. I forget what the actual syntax is, but there's some Kotlin isms when exposed to Java are maybe a little annoying to deal with, but you still can, and it's not that bad. The simple things are still totally simple though. And the other direction, Kotlin consuming anything from the Java side of the world is dead easy. No problem whatsoever. It's first class. So yeah, I would, truthfully, if I were starting, if I had to, yeah, like I said, if I had to standardize on one language for greenfield stuff, I would seriously consider Kotlin. But it would be on the list, unless the problem domain, drove us to something else.
I put in the Slack channel, I put links to the preview build of Android Studio that supports Kotlin, as well as the like Google's getting started with Kotlin on Android guide. So
it's good homework, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that one in particular, Google's
Just
getting
run some
started
of the
with
examples and then see if I can tweak it
Yeah.
the way I want to go.
I think that's a fabulous way to do it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
part of why I wanted to, sorry we didn't spend more time on it, but maybe we can still run one more. Why I wanted us to actually try to write some code tonight. These koans.
I always find when I'm learning a new language, developing an address book usually is good exercise.
to-do list, essentially, with names.
Podcast.
There you go.
Probably something a little more in my current background would be.
And just gets you to exercise a lot of different functions and stuff.
Cool. Okay, so nulls were top of my list, so why don't we run through something null, because you guys didn't suggest anything else.
That would be my suggestion, because they did trip me up a little bit.
Okay, so we are supposed to, sorry, we're doing more translating from Java. You can see where the background of this is. You don't have to use it that way, but you know, it's originally coming from a very Java-heavy place, so hence some of these examples are, how would you do this moderately annoying stuff in Java in this much, much nicer language? All right, so you guys want to run it, or should I? No, I didn't talk through these features enough, so I'll demo it. I just said they had these features. I didn't actually show you any of them. All right, so if client is null or message is null, then we're supposed to return. So that's one of the, I'm trying to read the whole thing here. So mailers, ultimately not null. Email. Okay, so we can make this one really tricky. So if we, fundamentally, all this code up here is doing is a like verbose but like null safe version of. So I'm going to write the unsafe version, and Kotlin is not actually going to let me do it. Those are the wrong order.
Okay.
So my initial assertion is that the code above is fundamentally like doing this, but with a bunch of ceremony about checking for nulls and bailing out early if there are nulls. That's fundamentally what the code above is trying to do. So I can try to compile this, and it's going to yell at me. Where's message? Message gets used. Oh. No, I didn't translate it quite correctly yet. So message is right there. Getting closer. So personal info. Oh, that came from there. Okay, so I still think this is close. So one thing that Kotlin has for dealing with nulls is the trust me, it's not null operator. So use very, very sparingly, you know. But it's still it's good for demos. Right? Good for getting it to compile and then getting it to yell at me in the ways that I want.
So is that just like they're showing you the getter for Java, you're supposed to just make it like a property accessor? Kotlin?
Okay. Never mind. Okay, so, okay, yeah, I was not looking at the code down below, and Nathan basically just said the right thing, and I dismissed system. Sorry. So again, going back. So the problem is that I was just supposed to dot and say personal info. So again, okay. So rewinding. So this is the unsafe. Kotlin won't actually let you get away with it, but this is effectively what the top is doing, just with null checks. So you can see that. Oh, and same thing with email. So instead of .get email, it's just going to be like .email. So now it should only be yelling at me about null stuff. Okay, and that appears to be the case. But all of my errors are about the fact that like string question mark means nullable string, but it was expecting not nullable string. And then you can see that it is then like saying, hey, you can't do that. You know, here's some stuff that you can you can do the question mark dot thing, which C# calls it the null coalescing operator. I forget if they actually give it the same name in Kotlin. Anyway, you guys can check that on your own. But yeah, question mark dot thing, very, very similar. But so let me show you the don't solve it this way, but it gets it to compile way, is to just put, trust me, it's not null all over the place. Oh, one more. Okay, yay, so it compiled. So because, again, Kotlin makes you deal with nulls, so it successfully compiled. But you know, there were actually, you know, they've got test cases appropriately that are passing in nulls, and the exclamation will, it's going to throw an exception saying, or if the thing that you said is not null, and that's what bang bang means. Bang bang is, I solemnly swear this thing is not null, and if it is, blow up right here at runtime. And so that's what's happening. It's blowing up at runtime because the thing that I swore was not null actually did turn out to be null. So now we need to actually deal with it. So I'm going to make this a little tricky because they let you do that in Kotlin. So one thing that they let you do is this, they have, so I mentioned but haven't yet used. I'm going to come back to it actually. Or, nah, okay. I mentioned but haven't yet used the question mark dot thing. They also have the question mark colon, which if you know C#, that is exactly the same as the double question mark operator. So unfortunately, it's the exact same thing, but. So it is sometimes called the Elvis operator, because if you turn your head sideways and look at it, it's like eyes and kind of swoopy hair. You can kind of imagine that it's Elvis.
Oh, that's good.
So it is actually called the Elvis operator. That's their real name for it. And so what that does is...
It also kind of looks like a ternary expression without a positive case.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the actual rationale.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Elvis operator, one thing I could do with it would be to provide some sort of default value. So this will compile, but it's still gonna like blow up in certain ways. So you can see that, you know, that I got a warning on one of them instead. So this works to provide a default value, but another thing Kotlin lets you do is you can actually like return or throw exceptions from inside of stuff like that, and it's going to bail out before it calls the thing on the outside. So you shouldn't necessarily get as tricky as I'm about to, but I'm short on time and I want you to see, you know, the capabilities that you would use in a more readable fashion is what I'm doing here. And so this will get me closer. See, I've got 2 greens now. I had 1 green and 1 orange before when I was just, instead of bailing out, when I was when I was instead defaulting to the empty string. I have one green and one orange because like it didn't throw an exception, but the value wasn't right or something. So making progress. And so now I've at least mentioned all the tricks that we need to get all the way through it. And so now we can use the question mark dot operator, which definitely doesn't have as cool a name as the others. If we do that, so question mark dot, think of it, they may call it safe navigation. Sorry, too many languages. But yeah, that's fundamentally what it is. It's like, okay, if the thing on my left is not null, then actually, grab this thing or call this method or whatever. But if it's not, just give me null, but don't blow up, just like don't bother doing the thing on the right. Give me null instead. That's what question mark dot does. And so this probably won't actually compile. So I get down to the end here. We're blowing up just the same as we were before. But if we now use this exact same trick, if we use the same appropriate and handy technique to make sure that my stuff is null, basically I'm propagating the nulls all the way out to the end here, and then if once we safely dot down all these times, if the thing that we got was null anywhere along the line, possibly on the very last thing, return, bail out. Oh, come on. I was like, this is my moment. There we go.
It's like starting up like the test runner or something.
Yeah.
That's why it takes a while.
So all that null checking code above, again, I think that this is, although on a bigger screen this might not seem as crazy, but this would probably be better to go ahead and save these things off. If we were to say like val email equals this stuff. Come on. We say val email is that stuff. And then val message. Oh, message already is in there. So we can't reassign that. So we're not really. I'll leave it like that. I think that's not bad. So not doing anything that tricky. So do all this stuff. This is fundamentally about grabbing email on this line. That's the only thing we're concerned with. So get email if you can, but if you can't, just return. So again, that's fundamentally doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. So what 6 non-blank lines we're doing, we're now doing in 2 very readable lines, and we can do it on 1, depending on how tricky we feel like being. So Kotlin does have a little bit more null stuff. So we could also, let me show you one more. So if we just check for null, that's good enough. I'm not good at the curly braces war. I can now get rid of this because it knows that's safe. So that's another trick that Kotlin has for you there, that you can go ahead and, because I've explicitly checked for it, I don't have to check for it inside anymore. In fact, I would get a warning if I tried. If I left that there, it's going to say like, hey, that can't be null. Oh, come on. Well, in IntelliJ, you get a warning for that. It's possible my warnings here are, yeah, there we go. So there's no warning. So yeah, it actually is all this operator. So yeah, it's
I'll leave you with the keys to blues.
the Elvis operator.
He's smiling.
Oh, he is smiling.
Goodness.
Cool. So, yeah, we're pushing 8 o'clock. I don't like to push it quite that late. So, hope you guys enjoyed Kotlin. Like I said, we're gonna next time we got a guy who does Kotlin on Android for his day job, and so he's gonna take us, or gonna actually do something more useful or fun, or at least on Android.
Socks will be lost.
I don't know, Tabo, like he'll knock your socks off.
So
Cool.
we should come barefoot.
Yes, or come without socks.
Nice for barefoot.
Cool. Thanks for coming.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Got more food? Go for it.
There is more food.
Time to kill the stream. Thanks for watching,
Go
Tabo.
for the achievement over here. Those koan.
He commented a couple times. I think he was on there at least some portion of it. Thanks.
Super important. See you next week.
Thanks. Thanks so much for coming. Come back next time. And looks like we've got the location for another 2 months.
Yeah.
So if 2 months you're out of here.
Well, in 2 months, maybe they'll have another building. Maybe
There's going to be a time where we don't have a building.
Okay, yeah, I still suspect that there's going to be. Okay,
Well, you'll
Well,
have a conference room. You have
he
to.
said it, so now I don't have to assume it.
No, basically we pushed the lease out for 2 months, so we'll be here through August. But the new building will not be entirely done. The upstairs will probably be closer, but the downstairs where the new conference room will not be.
Okay.
So September, I wouldn't plan.
So we
Unless we have another location.
right. This Brandon and I have at least thrown around the idea of trying to find another location because frankly we're not that big. You know, we wouldn't need that much room.
Well, you want to
keep
visit
it going.
Groveland? I can make a spot for you.
Might be fun to branch out a little bit.
We do have Wi-Fi in the location, but it's kind of smooth. But it's okay. It works.
Cool.
So with 12 guys on it, I don't know. It might just stop. We have good internet out there through Conifer. But the building I have in mind, if you'd like visiting out there, it's a fellowship hall in our church. So.
Cool.
And Conifer provides the communications, and they actually give it to us for free because we're a nonprofit. So,
Oh, cool.
but it's not at the high speed. But I can talk them into cranking us up for a day, I'm sure, because I'm a big fan.
Hey, it'd be worth a shot, and maybe they'd leave it on for you.
We only use it on Sundays, so it's really not a big
Right.
deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but in Groveland,
I will thank you.
yeah, that's where I live. Church is on Foot Street. I don't know if you know where that is. It's behind the post office, 2 Street. It's
Oh, okay, yeah.
you can find Foot Street. You can find us right across that.